SABC senior news reporter Chriselda Lewis is in Queensburgh this morning, where the damage is especially severe. Let's take you there live. Chriselda, good morning to you once again. What is the latest?
Well, Desiree, we've been driving around to several areas that have been left devastated. We're hoping to also get to that area where residents are still reeling from the damage that has been caused by this inclement weather. But take a look here. Where I'm standing, I am not able to find a single person in sight. Community members have fled these homes that are here next to me. I've been trying to shout out to get someone to try and come out, but it certainly seems like there isn't anyone at this particular stage who is here. These places have been left completely abandoned as a result of the floods that have taken place here. We do know that there's still a search, we understand, in some parts around here for some of the people that are still unaccounted for at this stage. But Desiree, let me just show you exactly what's happening here. This road here seems to have completely collapsed. Take a look at this car, completely buried by the rubble and the sand or the mud that had flown towards this area. This car looks relatively brand new, completely destroyed. You can see from where I'm standing, I certainly wouldn't be much taller than this car, but take a look, completely buried in the sand here where I am. I'll move towards this direction. Quite a number of these cars as well. I'm going to ask my colleague Tulo Munare to move towards that direction. A bit of shaky ground here, but I'm not going to move too much closer to it. And you'll see here, these cars also completely buried by the rubble here. There are some electrical poles that have also collapsed here. You can see also this the electric fence that seemed to have cordoned off this particular property here, that has also collapsed. I'm also going to try and be extremely careful as a result, because I'm not sure if these are live wires, of course, that have collapsed here. Take a look at this car right here where I am. Also here, this car completely buried. This was a road. This was a road that would lead into this particular area here in Queensburgh, but this completely as well destroyed. Some of the infrastructure also completely destroyed. And you can tell from that, Desiree, sometimes you'd find that the studio is unable to get hold of me. They're trying to send me messages because in certain areas, the infrastructure has completely collapsed that you're not able to reach me. So are the places where we've been trying to move through, we try to get signal wherever we can, and this gives a clear indication not just of the loss of life, which is the most important in this tragedy, but of course infrastructure that has collapsed. A clear indication here, there's absolutely no one in this particular area. I've tried to shout out, but certainly that has not, no one has managed to come out. This, as cleanup operations are continuing in other parts of eThekwini that have been affected by this. Many of the community members in the rural areas also pleading with us to come to those particular areas. Some of them quite inaccessible, Desiree, as a result of the roads that have collapsed, infrastructure poles, live wires. I'm going to try and move from here so that I don't step on one and injure myself in the process of doing that. But you'll certainly see from where we are, this was this seems like it belongs to the Singh's place. So this is in Beelings Road. Take a look here. Absolutely nothing left here. This car obviously pushed by the heavy water or gushing from clearly on top there, from where that street is, and this particular vehicle, this Ford Ranger, completely hitting against this electrical fence here. So this is the scene at this particular rubble also here. So you'd find the debris that had moved from right on top there, also managing, this gate, managing to block it off from moving towards this particular direction. So we're going to try to move to as many areas as possible. Let me move to the other side as well. I'm hoping I'm not going to inconvenience my colleague too much here, because we're just moving as we try to see as many places as possible. I'll move towards here. There seems to be wire everywhere, so I'm going to try and be safe here. There's another road that has collapsed. Let me just walk down here. This is the road that has collapsed. Yep, this is it. looks like it's a tar road, so giving a clear indication of the high volume of water that had gushed down this particular part. I'm going to try and go here. From this, I'm not able to move much further from where I am at the moment. This entire road has collapsed here. We managed to park quite far away from here, but an indication trees have also collapsed. Not far from where I am, some of the street poles have also collapsed. That is certainly what we've been hearing over the past couple of days. The devastation that these floods have caused and how much work needs to be done. President Cyril Ramaphosa indicating in his address to the nation that Treasury has indicated that 1 billion rand is available to deal with some of this destruction that has taken place, but it certainly seems like it's going to be a whole lot more. Many people are going to have to stretch into perhaps pockets that are not so deep in order to try and make sure that they try and deal with the situation. I'm just going to have a look here as well. You probably won't be able to see where I am at the moment, but clothes from right on top, that house where we showed you, clothes have also just flown towards this particular area. Here, this entire road has collapsed. There's not a soul in sight. People have abandoned their homes. And this is generally the sense. Those who are brave enough to stay in their homes, indicating that they don't want to go to the community halls that are in those areas. They're hoping for assistance to come as soon as possible. But they're still waiting for that. The situation extremely devastating here on the ground. While you're able to speak to people, they'll tell you about their agony of losing loved ones, losing their properties, and they don't know over the next couple of months what they're going to do about the situation. Certainly the hope is that I know that currently there might be a situation where the South African National Defence Force is trying to ensure that there are boots on the ground to distribute aid to some of the most needy areas. One is, it's very difficult to say which area needs more help than the other at this stage, because every single one is reeling from what has taken place, and they're hoping that over the next couple of days you might get some kind of assistance. I do see there are some gentlemen a bit far from where I am at the moment. It would be quite impossible to get to where they are because the road itself is a bit unstable here. We're trying to make sure that we are safe as we try to broadcast for you. I'm not sure if my colleague is able to move. I don't think so at this point. We've parked our car a bit far from here. Take a look at this road, a bit steep at this particular part. Some of the water that is seeping from right on top of this mountain, coming down all the way here. It'll give you an indication, I'll just move here again, it'll give you an indication of exactly what took place here. The aftermath itself, extremely devastating. And electrical poles, cars, everything just submerged here. This is certainly going to run into billions, as the President had indicated. But in terms of the loss of life, the numbers keep climbing. And there are still families that are looking for their loved ones. Shortly after 12 o'clock, Desiree, we will be speaking to a family that found their two children. Two of their children are still missing. They're absolutely devastated. I will move back from this particular area here in Queensburgh to another area where there's a community hall where, some of the residents feel they've absolutely nowhere to go. And at those community halls is where they're getting assistance. But some of those families that are housed there at those community centres, it's not just the feeling of losing your home, but also the feeling of not knowing where your children are. We'll bring you that live at 12 o'clock this afternoon, just afternoon, when we speak to our sister program. And they've agreed to speak to us the agony of not knowing where their loved ones are, of not knowing what the situation will bring. And I'm not sure, it seems there is a lady there who I could speak to. I hope, Desiree, you'd be able to give me a little bit more time. Hello, ma'am. Let me see if I'm able to have a word with the lady who seems to be carrying bags. I think she's trying to take what she can away from this area. Let me try and move closer to her. It's a bit difficult having to broadcast under these circumstances, speaking to some community members who are... Hello, ma'am? You'd rather not talk. All right, I totally understand. As you can see, community members are salvaging what they can. Totally understandable. Totally understandable that she cannot speak to us at this stage. She's carrying plastic bags with some clothes, and I guess that's all that she was able to salvage in these circumstances. Totally understandable, Desiree, in the sense that we go to communities, they're reeling, they are totally devastated by what has happened. They've lost everything. So sometimes it's very difficult, understandably, that she does not want to speak. She's probably dealing with a whole lot of emotion at the moment. And some of those that managed to speak to us earlier on, indicating, you would recall, back in the other area where we were, where residents had been indicating that they're going to need a lot of counselling. Not even those who have lost their family members, they would need counselling, but also those who have taken in devastated families to try and ensure that they get some shelter. So from this point, we will move to that area where some of these families are being housed at a community hall in Mkhize Street, which is back in Nazareth, and we'll speak to some of them there. Some of those community members have lost their loved ones, and they're still waiting for word on whether some of their children who are still unaccounted for, who are still missing. And we heard the Premier of the province, Sihle Zikalala, mention quite a lot pertaining to that, about those who remain unaccounted for. One of the community members that I spoke to said, better off you know if your family member is alive or is dead than not knowing where exactly they are. So the agony itself continues. So we'll certainly bring you that live as we speak to those families about what's to be done next. But what they are also doing is that these communities have rallied behind each other, in that excruciating pain, have also decided that they're going to come together. They are literally pulling out the deceased from under the ground. It's been devastating what has been taking place here. Some of the visuals we're unable to bring to you because it just wouldn't augur well for anyone to see that live on television, but certainly devastating circumstances from where we are. We're going to try to move to as many areas as possible. There are many calls from around here where requests have been made for us to go and cover these areas in the hope that government would be able to see. They have been on the ground going to certain areas. We've heard from community members that there have been government officials that have gone to assess the damage. We know that a number of the government departments are also here in terms of social development, the South African National Defence Force, the South African Police Service, rescue operations are still continuing. What they will find is certainly what residents in these areas are afraid of.
Chriselda, thank you once again, and I will reiterate what we spoke about earlier, the heartbreak of the fatalities and the numbers that are coming through against the struggle of those that are left behind to fend for themselves going forward. But thank you so much again for putting a human face to this devastation. Chriselda Lewis there for you in KZN, and as she said, she will continue throughout the day to bring stories, such stories on SABC News.